Hello viewers and welcome to North Wales. We are near Porthmadog and we are going to the Porthmadog Slate Mine. The mining itself ceased in 1999 and the Ffestiniog Railway, which we passed a little earlier, that stopped transporting the slate in 1962. The mine that we're going to go look at today was mechanised in the 1950s, which helped the workers remove the slate from the deep culverts and add it within the mine. We will see you at the car park. So viewers, we're now at the parking space for the mine, and that is all the spill. I think that's the blue slate. When I was at Honister Pass Slate Mine, we were taught about the different types of slate, and there's blue slate and plum slate or something, and they only want one type of slate because the other type's no good. And that's the stuff they didn't want. So they just used to chuck it out in big piles. So when you go to Dinorwig or places like that, you'll see a massive hillside just covered in slate where they've took it out and it's the wrong sort, so they just discarded it. It's snowing and we're about to set off. Let's go, folks. So that'll date back to 1999. Footpath 104. Prince Harry has joined us today. He's put Meghan Markle down and he's joined us on this tour. Say hello, Harry.
Hello.
Yeah.
A little longer than a few minutes later.
So I've climbed up from down there along this route here. That used to be the road and it's collapsed. But we're back on the road section now, which goes up there where Paul is at the top. We are at what I'm going to call the summit, which isn't the summit at all, but it's the bit that we wanted to go to, and not to be confused with the word something. Yeah, Matthew just said that's the Wetherspoons toilet in the centre of the screen now. We can see a winding engine up there, or a winding gear. I think it was all done by gravity, similar to Dinorwig. And we've got some buildings there, which says don't go in, but we're going to go in because it's probably good, so we'll have a look. And these are the cutting sheds, so this is where the big belt-driven machinery would have been to cut the large sections of slate into roof tiles and things like that. I watched a James May documentary once on one of his programmes where they went to the Honister Slate Mine and they took a bit of the roof down and the workers there cut it up for him to make a snooker table. That was on Amazon Prime, I think. And these are the cutting sheds.
Workshop. We've got the old, the cast iron machinery in there.
Alright, we'll check that out in a bit then. He was just saying off camera, the far building's got some machinery in it still. And you can see bits of it are still used. There are still parts of this mine that are active. So I've got workers' huts here. Looks like the workers have added these breeze block sections to prevent the roof from collapsing. Some of the timbers look new also to prop it all up. Really, they want to be repairing the roof to stop the water getting in. There's various bits of old equipment still within this part of the building. Some of it looks like it's from the 1970s by the looks. And then we've got the really old belt-driven stuff up in the ceiling. It's rolling with
Yeah.
So, I'll just redo everything I just did because I forgot to turn it on. Oops.
It's a new camera, so no worries.
New camera, old bloke. Enough said.
Yeah. Old dog and new tricks.
Some railway lines coming in here. This was the cutting shed. And as you can see, they're holding it up a little bit with some breeze blocks to stop it falling down. I don't know whether they're refurbing it. There's some scaffolding there. Or whether it's just an interim thing to stop it falling down. But there we go. But this was a cutting shed where they'd bring the slate in large blocks and then it'd be cut into smaller pieces. You see there's rail lines all over. There's some sort of machine bed there where there would have been a motor of some sort, I guess. Some more rails there. And there's bits and bats of machinery dotted about that we don't know what they are, but they look good. See, there's a Oh, that's like a conveyor. So I'm wondering if that was to take the spoil away. And that conveyor runs all the way down the back there. So maybe the cutting areas was on this side and all the spoil went out the back. You can see there's some pieces of slate that have been cut into shape and then discarded because they're broken. But yeah, this conveyor belt goes all the way down the back of here. It would have been really busy and noisy in its time. Here's another sort of machine. This looks like it's, oh, I don't know, it's got a guillotine blade on it. It's got a blade on it there. And then it's got this piece that rotates. This piece rotates and it's got a cutting blade on it there. So I'm presuming they would put the slate in that and that would chop it off. I won't want to be the man behind these machines shoveling all this stuff onto the conveyor belt. Yeah, you'd have thought they'd have constructed it so it went down a chute into it so they didn't have to manual handle it. Yeah, but there you go. Yeah, quite a big cutting shed. And you can see there's all these different bays where there would have been those machines just cutting up the slate into different sizes. This one's got workbenches in here. There's a piece of slate, and we presume that it would have been fed in there like that, and the blade would have come down and cut it. A big line shaft over the top there. That line shaft runs the full length of the building, and then at these points where these big pulleys are, there would be a belt come off to drive a piece of machinery below it. That looks like a wire saw.
Is that what that is?
I'm thinking that's a wire saw, so they would have a big long cable with like lumps on it, that like diamonds, and they have a right big long wire, and what they do is they move this to where they want it, and then they run the wire over the big boulder, and it pulls through it and cuts it into slices.
I suppose they cut into strips and then put it on the tables.
That's right, yeah.
I assume anyway.
This would be for handling the bigger lumps, I guess. Yeah.
So the big lumps that came out of the mine would then be sorted into smaller workable pieces.
That's right.
Oh wow, bearings are still good.
Yeah.
Moving.
Yeah.
Good SKF bearings.
You can't beat having some grease on your balls.
Yeah, this is it. Yeah,
Yeah.
we saw a ball bearing like that at
That's
Robert
it.
Fletcher's yesterday, in fact.
Yeah. There's a compressor and a receiver, and that compressor also driven off the line shaft. You can see there the pulley above it, and then there would be a reduction gear below, and then later converted to electric motor, as you can see on the plinth there.
What drove it first? Sorry, Dave.
Line shaft above it. There's that line shaft runs full length at building. There would have been a steam engine at the end,
So there was a steam engine.
and that would be driving that shaft all the way along the building. Now then, this is a big machine. Looking at that, it looks as though this bed would travel backwards and forwards on these runners. Lots of abandoned machinery. And another cutter on a little bed that would travel backwards and forwards. Now this one looks like the material would be sat on that carriage there, and there's rails at either side, and that will be pulled along under this trestle, and then this motor would travel across it and cut it. There's a piece that's being cut. You see the saw cut down the front there. So that was the cutting shed.
Different parts of metal bar stock there. We used to have a similar metal stock on aircraft carriers down in Seven Lima Workshop. And it was just for machining new parts that broke within engineering areas. See now we've got hex, 3/8. Can't see what that says, but small gauge. 7/8, and then that's probably inch bar.
Gear the summit there. Well, you don't see, it's like an old paraffin tin. You don't see them like that anymore. Yeah.
That for dispensing it, like filling things up.
Yeah, I remember going down to the garage with my granddad and getting some SO blue in a tin like that for his paraffin heater in his in the cellar. My granddad, they were the first ones to have an inside toilet, and it was in the cellar. And he had a paraffin heater in there just to keep it warm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's slate walls and just plastered over top of it. Or cemented. Just,
Yeah, they skimmed it, haven't they, with something to...
yeah.
Block and tackle there for doing heavy lifting. And what appears to be a water pump off of an engine. Oh, this is the electrical income room back. Look at that board there. Big old board. That looks like slate. Big slate board for insulator.
Slate?
Yeah. Well, if you've got the materials, use it. Slate board for insulation for incoming.
For the backboard.
Yeah.
And then they've put the, presumably... Do you reckon they had HV up here? That's just LV though, isn't it? I think that's LV, so 400 volts.
Yeah.
But then there's DC, that's like your commutator there, look.
Yoo.
You know, to turn the voltage up and down.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So they could set the
It's
tap
got
in.
a stud resistor bank. The lad have had a set of resistors behind there connecting to each of those studs so they could wind up the voltage.
And that will be probably DC.
DC, I would think, yeah.
DC, so they've got
Yeah.
DC distribution.
Yeah.
But we've got remains of AC system as well. It looks
Yeah.
like this was AC.
Mhm.
What was that?
Not to be confused with the pop group. Or rock band, should I say.
No. I've got General Electric Corporation fuses there.
Nice. What's that? 5?
I don't. Well, no, it's massive. The actual
Massive.
fuse is huge. So, be quite a high rupturing capacity one, but probably 100 amp or something there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Engineering workshop.
Engineering workshop.
So this was to repair the machinery.
Lathe there's driven by a line shaft also. You can see line shaft at top. Yeah. I think the bearings collapsed on this lathe.
Is that a four-jaw chuck?
That is a four-jaw chuck. Yes.
Oh, nice.
And a dead centre on the tailstock.
So you could centre it all up, and it took a bit of time to centre up a four-jaw chuck.
Yeah, you could use various methods. Dial gauge is probably the more accurate. You have a pedestal with a dial gauge on and an indicator, and that runs backwards in and out, and you just adjust your jaws to move the
completely
workpiece
true.
central.
Yeah.
Once it's running through, you're away.
Right. DTI it up.
Yeah.
I ain't done any of that since machining course.
Oh,
in
look.
Navy.
There's a piece for holding a tool that would slot in.
Yeah.
Not
Oh,
there.
Not there. Go. in a different piece.
A different piece, and then you'd put a tool in there and clamp it down.
And then run this bed that way
Yeah,
to
yeah,
machine things.
that's your top slide, and that goes in and out. Smaller adjustments, your bed.
Get 24 hours, my dad will have that working.
Yeah.
Yeah, he'd rewire it and get it all cleaned and whatnot, and yeah, a bit working bed it was.
Rub down with a damp rag and a bit of oil.
Yeah.
I think it's beyond it, unfortunately. What have we got in here then, Dave? Is that a guillotine?
What, that? No, that looks like it's a shaper.
What's that do?
Shaper? Well, you mount your workpiece on the bed, there, clamp it down, and this bed traverses backwards and forwards. Your cutter sits on, this is called your clapper, your cutter sits in there pointing down. So the work travels into the cutter, and then as the work comes back, this clapper ticks up. And as the workpiece passes, it drops back down, and then it goes back, and it progressively moves across to do cuts. And then you can, once you've done your series of cuts, you can lower your cutter and take another pass. But it can be set up to advance itself mechanically across.
There we go. Right in the air.
And it can be set up also to lower itself up
Now that's it.
on passes without this gear in here.
Right.
It's called a shaper.
Shaper.
That's why I put
Bed lathe, but
A long bed lathe, so
this
it's
looks
just...
more like a woodworking lathe, unless all the equipment's been stolen from it. But normally on the steel lathe, the front bed here is V-shaped. If we look at the other one, you'll see that the ways are angled to stop lateral movement.
Right.
So this was either it's got a big gap there, so it could be used for doing something large, rotating in there, like a wheel or whatever. In fact, looking at this, the way this is set up, this could very well have been for retreading the wheels on the trucks, the ore trucks.
Yeah, because they used to put tyres on them, didn't they?
Yeah.
The railway cars actually do have tyres. They're metal, but they are a tyre.
Yeah.
And then is this, what's this? That's just an upright.
That's a grindstone there for sharpening your cutting tools. And that's just belt fed from
Belt
that.
fed from all that up there.
Belt goes from there up to the line shaft, and then another belt from here down to the pulley on the grinder.
It's interesting to see that the steels are made in Middlesbrough, England. Is that a radial arm drill there?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's just like a big pillar drill on a radial arm, so the arm can move in and out,
Yeah.
up and down, forwards and backwards.
More robust and precise than a pillar drill.
Yeah, because it's all on that, it's like a solid bed.
Big pedestal, yeah.
Like a pillar drill just has a little bed, doesn't it? Whereas this has got a big,
And you see,
high
you
impact
could
bed.
do things on this bed, such as this, drilling this, but if you had something larger that wouldn't fit in that gap, you can clamp it to the side here with these T-slots. Clamp whatever to the side,
Clamp it
and
to
then
there.
rotate the drill over the top of it and drill it at the side there.
because the entire arm can move.
The entire arm pivots, yeah.
Wow. Substantial piece of equipment just left behind,
Yes, indeed.
folks.
But you've got to look at the effort it would take to take it away down the mountain, but it's outdated with modern machinery. You know, everything's CNC driven these days, got digital readouts and all this malarkey.
Yes.
So a manual machine like that is, you know, old in regards to the machining process.
Yes, it's all sadly redundant now.
Sadly redundant.
Look at the size of Ben's torch. That's a big torch.
It's needed.
So this looks like the woodworking shop.
Yes. It's got a circular saw in it.
Oh yeah, the big saw.
Big circular saw.
Wow,
Yeah.
big table saw. We've got various wood stock here in these bins.
Yeah.
Some belts and hoses left behind.
Making pit props and repairing the wagons and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah. There's a lot of wood stock just left in here on the floor. I don't know if it's fell from the... It hasn't fallen, so that was just in here.
Yeah.
It's wood stock for making things.
Didn't they have a pop concert there?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh, this looks like a forge. This looks like the blacksmith workshop, and this is a forge where they would forge iron. There's the hearth. That part at the back is where the bellows was. That would be the bellows to provide the draft for the forge.
So where was the fire?
In there.
Oh, in the bottom.
No, here.
In that.
This is the hearth.
Yeah.
And you see the blacksmith tools.
Oh, like
There's
an open hearth fire.
Yeah, like you'd have brazier coal in there,
Yeah.
and then you've seen blacksmiths
I did. There was one at T's cottage.
shove metal in there and get it red hot, and then take it out and beat it on a anvil into shape.
Very good. It was an open all hours, wasn't it, Granville?
It was, yeah,
What's all that in there? Is that the soot from the...
yeah,
That soot build up like clag
That's
that
soot.
they just didn't
yeah,
have time to clean out.
yeah. This
So
would
that's
have
a-
this would have been a canopy over the top. There were other
Yes.
ones in a little bit more intact, but it's fallen down. But it's still a bit more intact
It's
than
mad
that
that the
one.
blacksmith tools are still there on
The blacksmith tools are still here. There's the tongs for
Yeah.
getting the workpiece out and holding it. And there's a piece of steel that has been bent, and it's obviously there for some reason. It's shaped to that for some reason,
That had a
and left
purpose.
there to be able to be used again.
like it's like a mould
Well,
Like
it could be
to work something
the gap
to it.
there could be the width what they're aiming to reduce the steel to, and it's just
Yeah.
a quick guide to
Yeah.
get it to that gap. I don't know.
Right, wow. Clever stuff, blacksmithing.
Clever.
Another dying art.
A quick measure.
Dave's doing his quiet thing before he tells us what it is.
Yeah. Well, what I'm thinking is it's a preformer. So if you want to form something into a specific shape, then you heat it up till it's red hot, stick it in there, and this profile, when it's lowered onto it, will press it into that shape. And there's one for doing square stock. You can do things into square stock, and you know. So it's for shaping steel into a specific
on this
shape.
handle, so that lifted it
Yeah.
up and down.
Yeah,
It's all seized
it's
up now.
it's it's actually either hydraulic or pneumatic because there's some hoses behind it there.
Oh, so they could put huge amounts of pressure in it.
Oh, this big base at the bottom looks like there could be the piston in there, and then you operate that lever, and the whole thing comes down and squashes that to the profile you want it.
You lock it off and then compress it.
No, this would raise up.
Yeah.
This top piece would raise up.
Right.
You put your steel in there, pull the lever, and then all this will come down and squash it, whatever you
wow.
put in, into that shape.
Yeah. Wow.
We're making a profile for some sort of tool or a part that fits on a truck or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, whatever it was that was making. And there's even more blacksmith tools, look, just laid on the side. That's what they would use for punching holes in steel.
Right.
Somebody would hold that on the red hot steel, and then somebody would strike it with a hammer, and that would punch the hole through.
Right. Wow.
That looks like
Is that a drift?
it's a drill.
A drill?
Yeah. There's the drill
Oh, yeah.
head, and there's a square shank where it would sit in the pneumatic drill. So yeah, all sorts of bits and bats.
Yeah. It's just like a fully stocked workshop.
Absolutely.
It's had the roofs come in.
Yeah,
kinda taking
it's
it down.
summer workshop.
Yeah, not for today. I mean, to be honest, with the open hearths going, it wouldn't be so bad.
It would be nice and
Looking worse
toasty.
for wear now.
Yeah. Very good.
Is your camera still rolling?
Yes.
Yeah. Can you just stop it and then start it again? There's all boxes full of nuts and bolts and studs and pieces
Pins
that they would have used to make things with. Are these rivets?
Indeed, they are rivets, yes.
So they'd
Some-
get those cherry red and
Some
then
bigger ones there, look.
they get them cherry red and then hit them with a thing and it
Yeah.
squashes and mushrooms at both sides.
Yeah, that's right.
Right,
Yeah.
rivets. So viewers, it's come to that point in the video where it's time to say goodbye. Thank you so much for watching this, and tune in next week when we go down Porthmadog Slate Mine. That is going to be a bit of a multi-episode series because it's so big down there. Make sure you're subscribed and we'll see you again soon. Bye bye for now. As Vicky would say, my channel is very riveting.
My head's getting cold. It's due to the lack of air. Put my hat on.